I like how it sounds. Well, that's not very original. I like the feel of the keys, I think. I touch them, and it feels as though they are touching me back. Mother says I'm always peevish when I play Beethoven, and once someone called my music disturbing. But I don't know. I play the piano because it makes me feel.
Lucy, come away from that piano. The Signora had no business to do it, no business at all. She promised us south rooms close together with a view, instead of which we have north rooms far apart, looking into a courtyard. Oh, Lucy. The Signora promised us rooms that looked out on the Arno River.
I want so to see the Arno. This pension, all these people, it's as though we are in London. Can you believe that all of Florence is just outside?
Any nook does for me, but it does seem hard that you shouldn't have a view.
Oh, Charlotte, you must look over the Arno too. I mean it. The first vacant room in the front.
You must have it.
No, you must have it.
I insist on it. Your mother would never forgive me, Lucy.
She would never forgive me.
Oh, I have a view.
Who is that? Is that man speaking to us? Without an introduction?
Did you hear?
And what a dreadful jacket.
I said, I have a view.
Oh, a view. How delightful a view is.
This is my son, George. He has a view too.
Ah.
What I mean is this. You can have our rooms, and we'll take yours. We'll change.
Thank you very much indeed, but that is out of the question.
Why?
Because it is quite out of the question.
You see, we don't like to take...
But why? Women like a view, and men don't. George, persuade them.
Why must he keep asking?
It's so obvious they should have the rooms. There's nothing else to say.
It's as though they aren't talking about rooms at all.
Why will you not change? What possible objection can there be?
Shame.
Drink your tea, dear.
They seem very odd people.
George, tell them.
Drink your tea, dear. This pension is a failure. Tomorrow we will make a change.
Hello, hello. So sorry I'm late.
Why, it's Mr. Beebe! What a surprise! Charlotte, do you remember him?
Of course.
Oh, we must stay now, however bad the rooms are.
Mr. Beebe, I expect you have forgotten us. Miss Bartlett and Miss Honeychurch, who were at Tunbridge Wells when you helped the vicar that very cold Easter.
Yes, of course. How do you do?
I am glad to see you, and Summer Street too, which makes it so specially funny.
Miss Honeychurch lives in the parish of Summer Street, and we heard recently that you accepted the living there.
Quite right. I am lucky to be appointed to such a charming neighborhood.
I am glad. The name of our house is Windy Corner. There is my mother and me generally, and my brother. Though, it's not often we get him to church, is rather far off, I mean.
Indeed. Do you know Florence well?
No, I've never been here before.
Don't neglect the country round. First fine afternoon, drive up to Fiesole.
Fiesole? No, Mr. Beebe, you are wrong.
Ah, may I introduce Miss Eleanor Lavish?
The first fine afternoon, they must go to Prato. Is it not so, Miss Allen?
Don't miss the Duomo.
You may rid yourself of beggars there by merely shaking your head.
Don't give them money.
No.
You will take the tram to Prato. Stop it by raising your arms so.
And the Uffizi.
So glorious.
But first, let it be Prato. That place is too sweetly squalid for words. I love it. I revel in shaking off the trammels of respectability, as you know.
Oh dear.
It's too bad for that old man and his son, isn't it? Though, I think they're not quite the thing.
We are most grateful to you. The first evening means so much. Socially, you understand. When you arrived, we were in for a particularly uncomfortable exchange. Do you by any chance know the name of that older man?
Emerson.
Is he a friend of yours?
We are friendly, as one is in pensions.
Then I will say no more.
As you wish, but you need not refrain on my account.
Did you hear his odd proposal? I am the chaperone of my young cousin, and it would be a serious thing if I were to put her under an obligation to people of whom we know nothing. I hope I acted for the best.
You acted very naturally. All the same, I don't think much harm would have come of accepting.
No harm, of course, but we could not be under an obligation.
Mr. Emerson is rather a peculiar man. He has the merit, if it is one, of saying exactly what he means. He no more thought of putting you under an obligation than he thought of being polite. It is so difficult, at least I find it difficult, to understand people who speak the truth.
I was hoping he was nice. I do so always hope that people will be nice.
I think he is nice and tiresome. I differ from him on almost every point of any importance, and so I may say I hope you will differ. But his is the type one disagrees with, rather than deplores. When he first came here, he not unnaturally put people's backs up.
And I to conclude that he is a socialist, and presumably has brought up his son to be a socialist too.
I hardly know George, for he hasn't learned to talk yet. He seems a nice creature, though it is possible that he too is a socialist.
So, you think I ought to have accepted their offer? You feel I have been narrow-minded and suspicious?
Not at all.
But ought I not to apologize at all events for my apparent rudeness?
I don't think that will be necessary. Excuse me.
Was I a bore? Why didn't you talk, Lucy? He prefers young people.
He is nice. He seems to see the good in everyone. No one would take him for a clergyman.
My dear Lucia.
Well, you know what I mean. How clergymen laugh. Mr. Beebe laughs just like any ordinary man.
Funny girl. How you do remind me of your mother. I wonder if she will approve of Mr. B.
I'm sure she will. And so will Freddie.
Yes, I think everyone at Windy Corner will approve. I am used to Tunbridge Wells, where we are all hopelessly behind the times.
Yes.
I'm afraid you are finding me a very depressing companion. We wish you both a good night.
I must be more kind. It is so dreadful for Charlotte being poor.
I hope you will sleep well.
Oh, Miss Allen, our rooms smell.
If only Mr. Emerson was more tactful.
Yes.
However, he was not.
No.
Yet, have you ever noticed that there are some people who do things which are most indelicate and yet at the same time beautiful?
Are not beauty and delicacy the same?
So one would have thought. Good night.
It's all right about the rooms, Miss Bartlett. Mr. Emerson was talking about it in the smoking room. I encouraged him to make the offer again. He would be so pleased.
We must have the rooms now. The old man is just as nice as can be.
I fear I've been officious. I must apologize for my interference.
My own wishes, dearest Lucy, are unimportant in comparison with yours. I am only here through your kindness. If you wish me to turn these gentlemen out of their rooms, I will do it. Mr. B, would you kindly tell Mr. Emerson that I accept his offer, and then conduct him to me that I may thank him personally? Remember, Lucy, I alone am implicated in this. I should not wish the acceptance to come from you. Grant me that at all events.
Mr. Emerson is engaged, but here's his son instead.
Young man, I should like to tell your father.
My father is in his bath, so you can't thank him personally, but any message given by you to me will be given by me to him as soon as he comes out.
Tell him thank you. Poor young man. How angry he is with his father about the rooms. It is all he can do to keep polite. I will superintend the move.
Charlotte's energy and her unselfishness, quite wonderful, isn't it? Do you think her acceptance should have been less delicate and more beautiful?
I want to explain why it is that I have taken the largest room. Naturally, of course, I should have given it to you, but I happen to know that it belongs to the young man. If you are to accept a favor, it is more suitable that you should be under an obligation to his father than to him. I know where things lead to.
Mother wouldn't mind, I'm sure.
Good night, dear. I'll see you in the morning.
What can she be talking about?
What is it? The young man must have left it behind. Horrible.
Isn't it wonderful to wake up in a bright bare room with red tiles that look sparkling clean, even though they're not? But Isn't it glorious to fling wide the windows and lean out into the sunshine with all of Florence laid out before you, and the Arno River?
Oh, I do believe I have a sick headache. Would you at all like to go out?
I would rather like to go out, but I can go alone.
Oh no, my dear, of course, I must accompany you.
I'm happy to stop with you.
Oh no, that would never do.
Yes, I'm happy to stop behind.
I was going to walk to Santa Croce, but Miss Honeychurch like to come too. I shall take you by a dear dirty back way, and if you bring me luck, we shall have an adventure.
That is most kind of you, Miss Lavish.
Oh, yes. Where is Santa Croce?
Tut tut. I hope we shall soon emancipate you from that horrid guidebook. Betty Curbutt touches the surface of things. The true Italy is only to be found by patient observation. Buongiorno. Look at that adorable fruit seller. How the child stares at us. Poor,
Ananjes?
simple soul.
Ananjes?
No, no oranges. Thank you. Buongiorno.
I don't think this is a very nice part of Florence.
Aha! There it is! Santa Croce. I knew you should find it. Oh, there goes my little color box. I must have a word with her.
Has she left me alone? Oh, she has left me alone. And she has taken my guidebook. Miss Lavish is almost too original. I shouldn't go in by myself. Should I? Croce is a wonderful place to be sure, but how very like a barn, and cold. I'm sure I will like it immensely once I've seen the Giotto frescoes, but I wonder which they are. All these tombs. There's one that is particularly praised by Ruskin. understand any of this without my guidebook.
Ow.
Oh, poor little girl.
Painful, Bishop. Hard in life and hard in death. Go out into the sunshine, little girl, for that is where you ought to be. You are a clever woman. Though I am not of your creed, I do believe that those who make their fellow creatures happy are blessed beyond...
Niente.
I'm not sure she understands English.
That woman understands everything. Are you going through the church? Are you done?
No, I came here with Miss Lavish, who was to explain everything, but it is too bad she simply ran off, so I had to come in by myself.
Why shouldn't you?
Yes, why shouldn't you come by yourself?
Well, you see, Miss Lavish has taken away my guidebook.
Well, I'm glad it's that you minded. That's worth minding, the loss of the guidebook.
If you have no guidebook, you'd better join us.
Thank you very much, but I could not think of it. I hope you do not suppose that I came in to join you. I really came in to help with the child, and to thank you both so very kindly for giving us your rooms last night.
My dear, I think you are repeating what you have heard older people say. Stop being so touchy, and tell me instead which part of the church you would like to see. To take you to it would be a real pleasure.
I'm not touchy. I hope. It is the Giottos that I wish to see. Remember the facts about this church of Santa Croce, how it was built by faith in the full fervor of medievalism, before any taint of the Renaissance.
Built by faith indeed. That simply means the workmen weren't paid properly.
And these Giotto frescoes, magnificently untouched by the snares of anatomy and perspective. Could anything be more majestic, beautiful, true?
I see no truth. Look at that fat man in blue. He must weigh as much as I do. And he's shooting into the sky like an air balloon.
The Resurrection of St. John, a masterpiece.
Now, did this happen or didn't it?
It happened like this, if it happened at all. I'd rather go to heaven by myself than be pushed by cherubs. And if I got there, I should like my friends to lean out of it, just as they do here.
You will never go up.
They are so odd. They are so odd, aren't they? Note the muted expressions of the mourners here.
You and I shall lie in peace in the earth that bore us, and our names shall disappear as surely as our work survives.
Pardon me. The chapel is somewhat small for two parties. We will incommode you no longer.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
Shame.
Stop! There's plenty of room for all of us. Stop! George, I do believe that clergyman was Reverend Eager from Brixton.
I don't remember.
We know him. Why did he go? Did I talk too loud? I should go say I'm sorry. Hadn't I better? Then maybe he'll come back.
He will not come back. My father has that effect on nearly everyone. He will try to be kind.
I hope we all try.
Because we think it improves our character. But he is kind to people because he loves them. And they find him out and are offended or frightened.
How silly of them. I think that a kind action done tactfully.
Tact.
Here, we see how Giotto depicts Saint Francis to perceive goodness in others,
Do, sir, come back.
and a vision of the brotherhood of man.
Sir, I beg you.
Will you please go away?
Were you snubbed?
We have quite spoiled the pleasure of I don't know how many people. Let us not spoil yours. Tell me, have you finished looking at all these things?
Yes, they are lovely. You know which is the tombstone praised by Ruskin?
I'm afraid I don't. But let's try to guess it, shall we, George?
I want to sit here for a bit.
Why will he stay and look at that fresco of St. John's? I saw nothing in it.
I like Giotto, but I like things like the Della Robbia babies better.
So you ought. A baby is worth a dozen saints. But mine is worth all of paradise. Though, as far as I can see, he lives in hell.
Oh dear,
In hell, he's unhappy.
this simply will not do.
But how can he be unhappy when he is strong and alive, and brought up free from the superstition that makes all men hate one another in the name of God?
I think he's a very irreligious man.
what are we to do with him? Eh? Now, don't be stupid over this. I'm not requiring you to fall in love with my boy, but you could try to understand him a little. He has known so few women, and you have the time. Well, you are inclined to get muddled, if I may judge from last night. Let yourself go. Pull out from the depths those thoughts you do not understand, and lay them out in the sunshine, that you may learn the meaning of them. By learning to understand George, you will learn to understand yourself better. It will be good for both of you. I only know what it is that's wrong with him, not why it is.
What is it?
The old trouble. Things won't fit.
What things?
The things of the universe. George and I both know that all life is perhaps a tangle in the eternal smoothness. But why should this make us unhappy? Let us rather love one another and work and rejoice.
Yes.
Then make my boy think like we do. Make him realize that by the side of the everlasting why, there is a yes. A transitory yes, if you like, but a yes.
I am very sorry, but you will think me unfeeling. I believe what your son wants is employment. Has he no particular hobbies? Well, when I have my worries, I can generally forget them at the piano. And collecting stamps is a no end of good for my brother. I think I've impressed him. And that boy is so brooding, so silly too.
Miss Bartlett is here.
Oh, goodness me. Where? Oh, where?
In the nave.
Oh, what will she say?
Poor girl, poor girl.
Poor girl. I fail to understand the point of that remark. I consider myself a very fortunate girl, I assure you. I'm thoroughly happy and having a splendid good time. Goodbye. Thank you both so much for your time. Delightful morning. Santa Cruz is a black church.
Of music is not like the kingdom of this world. The most commonplace person, a simple, ordinary little girl, for example, begins to play the piano, and she shoots up into the Empyrean without effort, whilst we look up, marveling how she has escaped us. If Miss Honeychurch ever takes to live as she plays, it will be very interesting both for us and for her.
Oh, what a funny thing. Someone said that to Mother once, and that they trusted I should never live a duet.
Does Mrs. Honeychurch like music?
She doesn't mind it, but she doesn't like one to get excited over anything, and she thinks I'm silly about it. Once I said I preferred my playing far better than anyone else's, and she has never gotten over it. Well, of course, I didn't mean I played well. I only meant...
Of course.
Music.
What about music?
Poor Charlotte would be soft.
She and Miss Lavish hope to find the true Italy in the wet, I believe.
Miss Lavish is so original, though I don't think she ought to have taken my guidebook in Santa Croce last week. Charlotte was most displeased to find me practically alone, and so naturally I couldn't help being a little annoyed with Miss Lavish myself.
The two ladies, at all events, seem to have made up. They're always in each other's company, it seems.
Miss Honeychurch, my sister and I heard your beautiful playing, even though our door was shut. Indeed, one must shut one's doors in Italy. The Italians have no conception of privacy.
I quite agree with you, Miss Allen. The Italians see everything. They know what we want before we want it ourselves. They read us through and through. Yet, in their heart of hearts, the Italians are superficial. They have no conception of the intellectual life.
You are making fun of me, Mr. Reed, but indeed, it is so. What's this? A cigarette case? E.L.?
That belongs to Eleanor Lavish. A good fellow, Lavish, though I wish she'd start a pipe.
This must on no account get around. But she is writing a novel. Isn't that marvelous? I can't help thinking that there is something to admire in everyone, even if you do not approve of them. What I mean is, well, she is a little too, I do not like to say unwomanly, but she behaved most strangely when the Emersons arrived. Miss Honeychurch, have you ever spoken with the Millers, that nice American couple?
I do remember the Millers, yes.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but Mrs. Miller drinks a good deal of tea. Well, old Mr. Emerson warned Mrs. Miller of her stomach. He warned Mrs. Miller of her stomach. He actually said the word aloud, right there at the dining table where anyone might hear. I forgot myself and laughed, but as my sister Teresa truly said, it was no laughing matter. However, the point was that she was positively attracted by his mentioning stomach, and said she liked plain speaking. And she invited me to go to the smoking room to talk to them. Such an unsuitable invitation.
Let me finish the story. Miss Lavish tried Mrs. Miller, Mr. Miller, myself, everyone, and finally said, I shall go alone. She went. At the end of 5 minutes, she returned unobtrusively and began playing patience.
Whatever happened?
We shall never know. Miss Lavish won't dare tell, and Mr. Emerson does not think it worth telling.
Is Mr. Emerson nice or not nice?
You should settle that question for yourself.
But it is too difficult. What do you think, Miss Allen? Are the Emersons nice?
I cannot forget how they behaved at Eager's lecture at St. Croce. It really was too bad. I do not like the Emersons. They are not nice.
I think the Emersons are nice. Not that I see anything of them now.
But aren't they always waylaying me to go out with them, dear?
Well, only once, and Charlotte said something quite polite, of course.
Most right of her. They must find their level.
I rather think they've sunk. A pity, really.
I think I shall go out. I want to go around the town in a circular tram.
I wish we could. Unfortunately, I have letters.
I must go out. I feel I must.
If you want to go out alone, wouldn't you be better on your feet?
Italians, dear, you know?
Perhaps I shall meet someone who reads me through and through. I shall just go for a little walk then, and keep to the busy streets.
She knows she really ought not to go out at all. I put it down to too much Beethoven.
Big. I don't know why I can't ride the tram. I suppose it's unladylike. Why are all big things unladylike?
It is not that ladies are inferior to men, dear Lucy. It is that they are different. Their mission is to aspire others to achievement, rather than to achieve themselves. If a lady rushes into the fray herself, she will be first censured, then despised, and finally ignored. Poems have been written to illustrate this point.
I want to do something of which they will all disapprove of. I shall buy these. Botticelli's Birth of Venus, anew. The world is certainly full of beautiful things. If only I could find them. But nothing ever happens to me.
5, liar. No, soltanto 2. It's 5 and you know it. No! Figlio de puttana! Ecco te il nome! my brother, forgive me.
Oh, take him out of his car now! Hurry!
How can I tell her? Oh, what have I done? Oh, what have I done?
You fainted.
I am very sorry.
How are you now?
Perfectly well. Absolutely well.
Then let us come home. There's no point in our stopping.
Thank you very much, but I can go alone now. I am well. My photographs.
What photographs?
Oh, I must have dropped them out there in the square. Would you add your kindness by fetching them?
Miss Honeychurch, sit still. You aren't fit to go home alone.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
No, you aren't. If you were, you'd go openly.
But I'd rather...
Then I don't fetch your photographs.
But I'd rather go alone.
A man is dead. The man is probably dead. Sit down till you're arrested and don't move till I come back.
That was so strange, wasn't it? I've never seen anything like it. Have you, Mr. Emerson?
No, never.
What could they have been fighting over? And did you see that the murderer tried to kiss him as he was being pulled away?
I believe they were friends.
There's a cab up ahead.
Shall I stop them? Can you walk?
I feel fluttering here. I can walk, I mean. Mr. Beebe says the Italians know everything, but I think they're rather childish. When my cousin and I were in Pitti yesterday... What was that? What did you throw into the river?
Things I didn't want.
Mr. Emerson, I believe it was my photographs that you threw away.
I didn't know what to do with them. They were covered with blood. There. I'm glad I've told you. It seemed better that they should go out to the sea. I don't know. They frighten me. For something tremendous has happened. And I must face it without getting muddled. It isn't exactly that a man is dead. It has happened, and I mean to find out what it is.
I have behaved ridiculously. I cannot think what came over me.
I nearly fainted myself.
Well, I owe you 1,000 apologies.
Oh, all right.
Mr. Emerson, you know how silly people are about gossip.
I'm afraid I don't.
I mean, well, would you not mention it to anyone, my foolish behavior?
Your behavior? Oh, yes, all right.
And would you try to forget it? I mean, well, how quickly these things do happen and one must return to old life.
I don't.
What do you mean?
I should want to live.
What do you mean?
I shall want to live, I say.
My dear, do not give that incident with Mr. Emerson another thought. I am sure he acted just as he should, escorting you back to the pension.
But I fainted and he...
We needn't discuss it. Charlotte! Eleanor!
But I want to discuss it. It is too difficult to think about. Don't think, don't think, don't think. And avoid George Emerson at all costs.
I have heard of your adventure, Miss Honeychurch. That dreadful catastrophe has given me the idea for a new book.
After your despair yesterday, what a fortunate thing.
You are to tell me absolutely everything that occurred from the beginning. But perhaps you would rather not?
I am very sorry, but if you could manage without it, I'd rather not.
It is I who am sorry. Literary hacks are shameless creatures. I believe there is no secret of the human heart into which we wouldn't pry.
Eleanor, do tell us, what is the heroine's name?
Leonora.
I do hope she's nice. And what is the plot?
Love, murder, abduction, and revenge is the plot. I shall also introduce some humorous characters. I intend to be unmerciful to the British tourist.
Oh, you wicked woman! I am sure you are thinking of the Emersons.
I must confess that in Italy, my sympathies are not with my own countrymen. It is the neglected Italians who attract me, and whose lives I am going to paint so far as I can.
She is my idea of a really clever woman. It should be a most pathetic novel.
I hope I am not put into it.
She is emancipated, but only in the very best sense of the word. Shall we walk to the piazza, dear? Eleanor and I had a long talk yesterday. She believes in justice and truth and human interest. She also told me that she has a high opinion of the destiny of women. Ah, Mr. Eager, what a pleasant surprise.
Miss Bartlett, hello. And this must be the Miss Honeychurch whom you spoke of.
Yes, dear Lucy, this is Mr. Eager, who is an actual resident of Florence. Ah, Mr. Eager, how I envy you, knowing so much of the real Italy. All the places we sad tourists can never aspire to.
Yes. Well, perhaps we can remedy that. I was wondering if you would be disposed to join me on a drive someday this week. We might go up by Fiesole. There's a view there that Alesso Baldovinetti is fond of introducing into his pictures. That man had a decided feeling for landscape. Decidedly. This is a wonderful little shop, full of memories of Florence. You must stop here.
Mr. Beebe introduced him yesterday. He knows everyone, simply everyone. Perhaps we will have tea at a Renaissance villa.
I've asked Mr. Beebe on our drive as well. In these days of toil, we all have great need of the country and its message of purity. This very square, so I'm told, witnessed yesterday the most sordid of tragedies.
Miss Honeychurch happened to be passing through as it occurred. She can hardly bear to speak of it.
You were here alone, Miss Honeychurch? I trust that it was not in your immediate proximity.
Mr. Emerson kindly escorted her home.
George Emerson, I see. The drummer.
Delightful.
I knew the father. A mechanic of some sort when he was young, though he took to writing for the socialistic press.
Is he a journalist now?
He is not. He made an advantageous marriage.
Oh, so he has a wife.
Dead, Miss Bartlett. Dead. He was in my London parish in Brixton long ago. Just the other day, when we were in Santa Croce, I snubbed him. Let him beware that he does not get more than a snub.
What?
Exposure.
Oh, St. Peter, do you mean that he is an irreligious man? Well, we know that already.
I should be astonished if you knew all.
Perhaps it is something we had better not hear.
To speak plainly, it is. I will say no more.
You have said very little.
It was my intention to say very little. That man murdered his wife.
How?
To all intents and purposes, he murdered her. That day in Santa Croce, did they say anything against me?
Not a word.
Oh, I thought they had been libeling me to you. But I suppose it is only their personal charms that makes you defend them.
I'm not defending them.
How could you think she was defending them? That shopkeeper is listening to us.
That man murdered his wife in the sight of God. I must be going.
Shall we see you on the drive to Fiesole then?
Ah, yes, the drive, of course.
Bother the drive. It is just the drive we had arranged with Mr. B, without any fuss. Why should he invite us in such a strange manner?
If that is so, my dear, if the drive we are going with Mr. Beebe is really the same as the one we are going with Mr. Eager, then I foresee a sad kettle of fish.
How?
Because Mr. Beebe has asked Eleanor Lavish to come too.
Oh, that will mean another carriage.
Far worse. Mr. Eager does not like Eleanor. She knows it herself. The truth must be told. She is too unconventional for him.
A letter, Signorina.
This is her mother. I wonder whether it is Mr. Beebe, who forgot to tell Mr. Eager, or if it is Mr. Eager who forgot when he told us, or whether they have decided to leave Eleanor out of it altogether, which they could scarcely do, but in any case, we must be prepared. What does your mother say?
Oh, nothing. The crocuses, which are supposed to come up yellow, are coming up puce. And the vises. Mrs. Vise and her son have gone to Rome. Such wonderful people, the Vises. So clever. My idea of what's really clever. Don't you long to be in Rome?
I die for it.
Well, Charlotte, here's an idea. What if we pop off to Rome tomorrow, straight to the Vises Hotel? I'm sick of Florence.
Oh, you troll person. Pray, what would become of your drive in the hills?
I've invited Miss Lavish to come with us to Fiesole. And the Emersons will come too. They said they knew you.
Oh, how delightful. Tea at a Renaissance villa is now impossible.
I shall ride with Miss Honeychurch and Mr. Eager in the first carriage. You must ride with the Emersons.
No, you must take the Emersons. I can't abide them.
Impossible because of Miss Honeychurch. And they mustn't ride with Mr. Eager either. He thinks Mr. Emerson a murderer in the sight of God.
Really? Tell me all.
This expedition is just fate. I've done very well in avoiding George Emerson, but now it's all up. I don't dislike him, but I don't know what happened between us, and I believe he does.
Let's be off then. To the carriages.
To the carriages. Lucy, you must sit forward.
No. You must sit forward.
No, you.
I'll sit behind.
No, you must go in the other carriage.
Why's that?
I'll sit here.
Shall we?
Very well.
Oh, no.
That is all wrong.
Mr. Eager, come sit by me.
No, I'll leave.
Oh, no. That's wrong. Mr. Emerson, come to this carriage.
No more of this jumbling about. Miss Bartlett, do come with me and the young gentleman to the other carriage.
Oh dear. Where's the driver? Ah, here he comes.
She is the sister. We go.
So, Miss Honeychurch, you are traveling as a student of art?
Oh, dear me, no. Oh, no.
Perhaps as a student of human nature, like myself.
I am here as a tourist.
If you will not think me rude, We residents sometimes pity you poor tourists not a little, handed about like a parcel of goods from Venice to Florence, from Florence to Rome, quite unconscious of anything that is outside Baedeker. Their one anxiety to get done or through and go on somewhere else. You know that American girl in Punch who says, "Say, Papa, what did we see at Rome?" And the father replies, "Why, guess Rome is where we saw the other dog." That's traveling for you. Ha!
I quite agree. The narrowness and superficiality of the Anglo-Saxon tourist is nothing less than a menace.
Quite so. Piano, piano.
Very good, sir.
They're the only ones enjoying themselves.
Now, we begin to see the view that so inspired Alesso Baldovinetti.
A noble manifestation of the Renaissance.
One of its causes, you mean. Piano, piano. Stop! Stop the carriage! Stop that vile embrace!
She is my sister.
You, sir, are a liar. Get down at once.
No, you mustn't break them apart.
I would let them be, but I have always flown in the face of convention.
He's trying to take advantage of us. He thinks we're mere tourists.
Surely not. Get down.
Look, there's the other carriage.
We saw, but surely they'll behave themselves now.
That girl must go.
No, to be driven by lovers. A king might envy us.
A crowd is beginning to collect.
Signorina,
Why does he ask me?
Signorina, him, you.
No, I can't. I mean, I don't know what she means.
Victory!
It is not victory, it is defeat. Have you ever heard of Lorenzo de Medici?
Do you refer to Lorenzo il Magnifico? Or to Lorenzo, Duke of Urbino? Or to Lorenzo, surnamed Lorenzino on account of his diminutive stature?
I refer to Lorenzo the poet. He once wrote a line that goes like this. Do not go fighting against the spring.
Non fate guerra al maschio. War not with the May would render a correct meaning.
The point is this. We have warred with it. Look, here, all around us, 50 miles of spring, and we have come up to admire them. Do you suppose there's any difference between spring in nature and spring in man?
I think we're here.
Yes, this is it.
It's rather hazy.
One really can't see much, can one?
Not the view I was hoping for.
well, what shall we do?
Let's ask the driver about this place, shall we?
Eleanor, I must absolutely speak with you. Alone. When we were in the carriage, I asked the young Mr. Emerson what his profession was, and do you know what he answered?
What?
I had no idea it would be such a dreadful answer, or I would not have asked.
The railway? Oh, but I shall die. He is the image of a portrait.
Eleanor, hush! Be quiet. The Emersons will hear.
I can't stop. Let me go my wicked way. A portrait.
Oh, the Emersons won't hear, and they wouldn't mind if they did.
Miss Honeychurch, listening? Hoop whoop, you naughty girl. Go away.
Anyway, he works in an office. His father told me.
Lucy, you ought to be with Mr. Eager, I'm sure.
Well, I can't find them now, and I don't want to either.
Mr. Eager will be offended. It is your party.
Please, I'd rather stop here with you.
Miss Lucy, you are to go. We wish to converse on higher topics, unsuitable for your ears.
I'm staying here.
How tired one gets.
Then sit you down. Observe my foresight. A Mackintosh square.
Here, my dear. The ground will do for me. Really, I have not had rheumatism in years. If I do feel it coming on, I shall stand. Here we all are, settled delightfully. Even if my dress is thinner, the wet won't show so much it being brown. Now, don't be alarmed. It isn't a cold. It's the tiniest tough, and I've had it 3 days. It has nothing to do with sitting here at all.
Do you know who Reverend Beebe is? The good man? Dove, uni, umini.
Yes, yes.
What was that noise?
The good man.
Who is making that sound?
Here.
Oh, violets. There are violets everywhere. I've never seen such a beautiful thing.
Truth, courage, and love.
And I've lost George.
Miss Irish, I have found a Macintosh square. What a failure this is.
Where is everyone? I have a picnic basket. A picnic basket, I said. I suppose I shall have to eat it myself.
Let us go immediately. The Signoro has told me he wishes to walk.
George is going to walk home. He'll be ours.
I told him he's no wise. It's going to rain.
Courage, Miss Bartlett. Courage and faith. Are we seriously to suppose all this immense electrical display is simply called into existence to extinguish you or me?
No, of course not.
Even from the scientific standpoint, the chances against our being struck are enormous. The steel knives, the only articles which might attract the current, are in the other carriage. Courage and faith.
Mr. Eager, we need your assistance. Will you interpret for us? Ask the driver which way George went. The boy could lose his way. He could be killed.
Yes, go please, Mr. Eager. Help Mr. Emerson. He is nearly demented.
He could be killed. He could be killed.
Typical behavior. In the presence of reality, that kind of person invariably breaks down.
What the devil?
That tree fell right across the road.
I move it.
If we had already started, we should all have been killed.
It's a miracle.
Really? I think it is.
What a miraculous preservation.
Thank God.
We go.
Well, here we all are.
Safe and sound.
I suppose now, looking back on it, that even if we had continued on, we would not have been struck by that tree.
In all probability not.
Yes, and I'm sure George will be all right too.
Florence.
Well, good night, Mr. Beebe.
Mr. Emerson, Mr. Eager.
Yes, I'm off. Lovely day.
Typical narrow-mindedness.
I shall understand myself. I won't be troubled by things that come out of nothing and mean, I don't know what.
Well, my dear, I am at all events one for Bedfordshire. Come into your room and I will give a good brush to your hair. Well?
I thought I was developing. You warned me to be careful, but I've been worse than you know, far worse. Oh, but he won't be killed, will he?
I trust not. One would always pray against that.
He is really. I think he was taken by surprise, just as I was before in the piazza. Well, though this time I'm not to blame. I simply slipped into those violets. No. I want to be entirely truthful. I am a little to blame. I had silly thoughts. The sky, you know, and the ground all blue. And for a moment, he looked like someone out of a book.
In a book?
Heroes, gods, you know.
And then?
Oh, Charlotte, you know what happened then. I'm trying to be truthful. It is so hard to be absolutely truthful about how one feels.
Don't think about that. No, we must decide what is to be done. A point, dearest, which you alone can settle.
It has been raining for nearly 4 hours.
How do you propose to silence him?
The driver?
My dear girl, no. Mr. George Emerson. How are you going to stop him talking about it?
Well, I have a feeling that talk is something he will never do.
I too intend to judge him charitably. But unfortunately, I have met the type before. They seldom keep their exploits to themselves.
Exploits?
My poor dear, did you suppose that this was his first? Well, I am no prude. There is no need to call him a wicked young man, though obviously he is thoroughly unrefined. So what do you propose to do?
I propose to speak to him. Well, as you said, it is my affair, mine and his.
So you're going to implore him, to beg him to keep silence?
No, of course not. There will be no need of it. Whatever you ask him, he answers yes or no, and then it is over. I have been frightened of him before, but now I am not one little bit.
But we fear him for you, dear. You are so inexperienced, you cannot realize what men can be, how they can take a brutal pleasure in insulting a woman. This afternoon, for example, if I had not arrived, what would have happened?
I cannot think.
When he insulted you, how would you have responded?
Well, I hadn't time to think. You came.
Yes, but won't you tell me now what you would have done?
I would have... Well, I cannot think what I would have done.
Come away from the window, dear. You will be seen from the road. Oh, for a real man. Mr. Beebe is hopeless. There is Mr. Eager, but you do not trust him. Oh, for your brother. He is young, but I know that his sister's insult would rouse in him a very lion. Thank God chivalry is not yet dead. It will be a push to catch the morning train, but we must try.
What train?
The train to Rome. We shall be much more comfortable at the Vices Hotel. Isn't afternoon tea given there for nothing?
Yes, but they pay extra for wine. Oh, Charlotte, Charlotte!
My dear, how could you ever forgive me?
But no!
I have been a failure. Failed in my duty to your mother and failed to make you happy. I shall never again face her after this disaster.
Well, it isn't a disaster.
But it is. Your mother will see this as clearly as I do when you tell her about it.
But why need she hear of it?
But you tell her everything.
I suppose I do, generally.
Well, if you feel that you could not tell her, then I dare not break your confidence.
Naturally, I should tell her. But if she should blame you in any way, I shall not tell her. I shall never speak of it again to her or to anyone.
There now, go to bed. I'll pack our trunks.
It's him.
I should like one word with you in the drawing room, please, Mr. Emerson.
Do you think he will tell? Do you think he has exploits? Oh, it isn't true. It can't be true. I want not to feel so muddled. I want to grow older quickly. I feel, don't think, don't think, don't think.
Don't think.
Time they did.
I am glad that Cecil is asking Lucy this once more.
It's his third go, isn't it?
Freddie, I do call the way you talk unkind.
I don't mean to be unkind, but he can't have said no properly before, or she wouldn't have to say it properly before, or she wouldn't have to say it again now.
Just listen to this letter that I have written to Mrs. Vyse.
Yes, Mother, you told me. A jolly good letter.
Dear Mrs. Vyse, Cecil has just asked for my permission, and I was rather amused at his asking me at all. Cecil has always gone in for unconventionality and parents nowhere and so forth. But when it comes to the point, he can't get on without me.
Nor me.
You?
He asked me for my permission also.
How very odd of him.
And why shouldn't my permission be asked?
Well, what do you know about Lucy or girls or anything? Whatever did you say?
The bother's this.
Oh, Freddie, you must come. There they still are.
I don't see why you ought to go peeping like that.
Can't I look around my own garden? Still on page 322?
The bother is this. I have put my foot in it with Cecil. After I said, I don't mind, he wanted to know whether I wasn't off my head with joy. He practically put it like this. Wasn't it a splendid thing for Lucy and for Windy Corner, generally, if he married her? And he would have an answer. He said it would strengthen his hand.
I hope you gave a careful answer, dear.
I said, no. There, fly into the stew. I had to say it.
I hope you boxed your ears. How dare you say no?
I had to say no when I couldn't say yes. I don't hate him, but I don't like him.
Well, I like him. He's good. He's clever. He's rich. He's well connected. You needn't roll your eyes so. I'll say it again. He's well connected. And he has beautiful manners. You are jealous of Cecil because he may stop Lucy knitting you silk ties.
It's not that. It's he praises one too much for being athletic, and he makes one talk in his own way. That tired way. No, Cecil is the kind of person that will never wear another fellow's cap.
What nonsense you talk. Listen to this. Do you think it will do? Dear Mrs. Vyse, Cecil has just asked for my permission about it, and I should be delighted if Lucy wishes it. But in these days, young people must decide for themselves. I don't want Mrs. Vyse to think us old-fashioned. She goes in for lectures and improving her mind.
Look out.
E promessi sposi. She has accepted me.
Oh, I am so glad. I feel sure that you will make our dear Lucy very happy.
I hope so.
Steady on.
Not a kiss for me.
Would you take them into the garden and tell Mrs. Honeychurch all about it? And I'll stop here and write to my mother.
Isn't it wonderful? Isn't he wonderful? Everyone's so happy.
Oh dear, this furniture. I wonder what might be done to make this house more distinctive.
Hello, Mr. Vyse.
Mr. Beebe.
I have come for tea. Do you suppose I shall get it?
Food is the one thing one does get here. Don't sit in that chair. Honeychurch has left a bone in it.
Phooey. Where are the others?
In the garden. There, by the dahlias.
Charming. Miss Honeychurch is quite in bloom.
We traveled together. Italy, you know. She developed most remarkably there. There's a marvelous reticence about her, like a woman of Da Vinci's.
Whom we love. Not so much for who she is, but for the things she will not tell us.
There are things, most assuredly, not of this life.
I do admit, I've always thought it unreasonable that she should play the piano so wonderfully, yet live so quietly. I do suspect that one day she shall be wonderful in both, and then we will have her heroically good or heroically bad, or too heroic, perhaps, to be either good or bad.
So at present you think her not wonderful?
I only saw her at Tunbridge Wells, where she was not wonderful, and at Florence. She wasn't wonderful in Florence either, but I kept on expecting that she would be.
In what way?
there was a sense that she had found wings. I have a picture in my Italian diary. Miss Honeychurch the kite, and Miss Bartlett holding the string. Only the string never broke.
It has broken now.
What do you mean?
I mean that Lucy is going to marry me.
I had no idea you were intimate with her, or I never would have talked in that flippant way.
I fear that Lucy's decision does not meet with your approval.
I foresaw in Florence, Mr. Vyse, that her uneventful childhood must come to an end. And it has. She has learned what it is to love. The most valuable lesson, some people will tell you, that our earthly life provides. Oh, hello there, I've heard the news. She has learned through you. Let it be your care that her knowledge is profitable to her.
Grazie tante.
And now I'm going to do what I'm always supposed to do, but generally I'm too shy. I want to invoke every kind of blessing on you both. I want you all your lives to be supremely good and supremely happy. And now I want my tea.
You only asked for it just in time. How dare you be serious, that windy corner?
Mrs. Cornfluffle, may I introduce my sister's fiance, don't you know? Oh, Sir Harry, Lady Otway, this is Lucy's fiasco. Mrs. Stemple, my sister's fiasco.
Well, that was dreadful.
I rather enjoyed it.
To me, it seemed absolutely appalling, disastrous, and portentous.
Oh, Cecil, I'm so sorry that you had to meet with all of our old neighbors. But was it really that bad?
All those old women smirking.
You're right. It was tiresome. He's right, of course.
Well, that went marvelously, I thought. Shall we walk home? Lovely day.
I suppose there are certain irremovable barriers between myself and them, and I must accept them.
Well, everyone has their limitations.
That's not what I mean. After all, it makes a difference, doesn't it, whether we fence ourselves in or are fenced out by the barriers of others?
Yes. Fences are fences, no matter how they go up.
Oh, Mother, we're not talking about real fences.
Oh, I see, dear. Poetry.
Now, I'll tell you who has no fences, and that's Mr. B.
A parson fenceless is a parson defenseless.
I thought you liked Mr. B.
I consider him far above the average.
Well, now, a clergyman I do hate, who does the fences, the most dreadful ones, is Reverend Eager, the English chaplain we met at Florence. He did say such unkind things.
What sort of things?
Well, there was this old man at our pension who he said had murdered his wife.
Perhaps he had.
But no!
Why no?
Well, he was such a nice old man, I'm sure. And Reverend Eager was so vague, said he practically murdered his wife in the sight of God.
Hush, dear.
But isn't it intolerable that a person we're told to imitate should go around spreading slander? It was, I believe, chiefly owing to him that the old man was dropped.
Poor old man. What was his name?
Harris. Why did I lie?
I say, what are these two sad red and cream brick abominations?
Oh, those dreadful villas. Let's walk by quickly.
That's Sissy and Albert. They are tired, aren't they? Sir Harry Otway has just bought them, though, so maybe...
Look, there he is. Sir Harry, I want you to knock down these villas at once. They have ruined Summer Street for too long.
Mrs. Honeychurch, I want to, but I can't. I really can't turn Miss Flack out of Albert.
She ought to have gone before the contract was signed.
But what can I do? An old lady, so very vulgar, and almost bedridden. I've spent all this money, and Summer Street is as spoilt as much as ever. All I can do is find someone desirable to rent Sissy.
It would be a perfect paradise for a bank clerk.
That is exactly what I fear, Mr. Vyse. It will attract the wrong type of people. The train service has improved, a fatal improvement to my mind, And what are 5 miles from a station in these days of bicycles?
Rather a strenuous clerk it would be.
Though the physique of the lower middle classes is improving at a most appalling rate.
Cecil, Sir Harry, how do you like spinsters?
Gentlewomen? Desirable?
Miss Catherine and Miss Teresa Allen. I heard from them last week. They're looking for a place to stay. May I tell them to write to you?
Indeed you may. How delightful.
My advice is to have nothing to do with decayed gentlewomen.
The Miss Allens aren't that.
Beware. They are certain to have canaries. They will spit seed out, then the mice come.
Mrs. Honeychurch, perhaps you'd like to inspect the villas for yourself.
Yes, do. And we too will walk home.
Certainly.
Hopeless vulgarian.
Oh, Cecil, he isn't clever, but really he is nice.
In London he would keep his place, but down here he acts the little god with his gentility and sham aesthetics, and everyone, even your mother, is taken in.
True, but I wonder whether it matters so very much.
It would be wrong not to loathe that man.
Which way should we go?
Are there 2 ways?
Perhaps the road is better, as we're all got up smart.
I'd rather go through the wood. Do you know, Lucy, I have an idea that you feel more at home with me in a room, not in real country like this.
Cecil, you talk as though I was a kind of poetess sort of person.
I'm not sure you aren't. Italy worked some marvel in you. It gave you light. No, it gave you shadow. I connect you with a view, a certain type of view. Why shouldn't you connect me with a room?
You know, you're right. Whenever I do think of you, it is always in a room. I must be a poetess after all.
A drawing room, pray. With no view?
Yes, with no view, I fancy. Why not?
I'd rather you connected me with the open air.
Whatever do you mean? Oh, look, the sacred lake. It's only a puddle now, but after heavy rain it becomes quite large and beautiful. Freddie used to bathe there. He was quite fond of it.
And you?
I bathed there too, till I was found out. And there was quite a row.
Who found you out?
Oh, Charlotte. She was stopping with us. Charlotte.
Poor girl. Lucy?
Yes, I suppose we should be going.
No. I want to ask something of you that I have never asked before.
What is it?
Hitherto, never. Not even that day that you agreed to marry me.
Yes?
Up to now, I have never kissed you.
No.
Then I ask you, may I now?
Well, of course you may, Cecil. I can't run at you, you know.
Sorry.
No, it's my fault. Emerson was his name, not Harris.
What name?
The old man.
What old man?
The one Reverend Eager was so unkind to. He didn't ask, so I needed to tell him. It isn't a lie, because he didn't ask.
Minnie Beebe, where are you, you little sprog? Minnie Beebe.
Stop shouting so. Here I am.
It's time for Bumble Puppy. Face your fate.
It has been such a nuisance. No one knowing what they want and everyone being so tiresome.
But the Miss Allens are really coming, then.
Yes, I had a letter from...
Minnie! My apologies for my most benighted niece. Relatives of the clergy are expected to behave in a saintly manner, Minerva.
Yes, Minerva.
But the Miss Allens are really coming, then. I had a letter from them wondering how often the butcher called, and I replied of once a month must have impressed them.
I shall hate them. Just because they're old and silly, one's expected to say, how sweet.
Where's Cecil?
Oh, one doesn't play Bumble Puppy when Cecil's around. No, Minnie, not that one. That's Saturn, and he's all himself, so he makes a ring when he's thrown. Here, take this one.
Look at Lucy, complaining of Saturn, but now she's trying to foist beautiful white devil off us. That's right, Minnie. Go for it. Get over.
I wish the Miss Allens could see this.
Who is Miss Allens?
They have taken Sissy Villa.
That's not the name. I've this minute seen Sir Harry, and he said to me, "Ahem, Honeychurch, ahem. I have at last procured the most desirable tenants."
Exactly, the Miss Allens.
Rather not. More like Anderson.
Good gracious, more confusion. I said, don't interfere with Sissy Villa, and I am always right. I'm quite uneasy about being always right so often.
It is just more confusion of Freddy's.
Emerson.
What?
Emerson, I bet you anything that's the name.
Do you know what Emersons they are?
You and the other country families will be able to call in perfect safety. They're friends of Cecil.
Cecil! Lucy, don't screech.
Friends of Cecil, and so really desirable.
They can't possibly be the same Emersons as...
The Emersons who are at Florence, do you mean? Impossible. Oh, Mrs. Honeychurch, the oddest people. For our part, we rather liked them, though, didn't we?
Fiasco's done you this time.
Our special joy was the father, a sentimental old darling, and people had declared he had murdered his wife.
That's the second one. There was another man in the same place who had murdered his wife. Oh, Lucy, don't desert us.
Don't go!
Don't be silly! You always overdo it when you play!
Paris! That was the name.
I told a lie, and I didn't put it straight. I won't. I will be more vigilant, absolutely truthful. Well, in all events, I will not tell lies. Oh, Cecil, Freddie has just told us. I suppose I must forgive you, and certainly the Miss Allens are tiresome, so I'd rather have friends of yours.
Friends of mine? Huh. I met them last week at the National Gallery.
What?
That's the joke. Absolute strangers. A father and son, hopelessly middle class. They were admiring a Donatello, quite stupidly, of course. However, we got to talking. They'd been to Italy.
But Cecil.
In the course of conversation, they said that they wanted a country cottage. And I thought, what a chance of scoring off Sir Harry.
But Cecil, it isn't fair. I could know them.
Anything is fair that punishes a snob. The classes ought to mix. There ought to be intermarriage. I believe in democracy.
No, you don't. You don't know what that word means, and you had no business to undo my work with the Miss Allens and make me look ridiculous. I consider it most disloyal of you.
Temper, temper.
Dearest Lucy, I have heard the horrible, ghastly, unbelievable news from Miss Lavish, who was bicycling in your parts. I am full of foreboding, and I advise you to tell your mother, Freddie, and Mr. Vyse, who will forbid George Emerson to enter the house. Mr. Vyse is so sensitive. I remember how I used to get on his nerves in Rome. Your loving and anxious cousin, Charlotte.
Dear Charlotte, many thanks for your warning, but it was you who made me promise not to tell Mother, as you said she would blame you, so I cannot possibly tell her now. Please do not put private outside of your envelope. No one reads my letters. Yours affectionately, L.M. Honeychurch. I welcome the George Emerson. I do. I'm engaged. He can scarcely insult me again.
Suppose we go over to Sissy Villa and hinder those new people for a while. They might amuse you.
They're probably a bit busy, having only just moved in.
I suggest we hinder them. They are worth it. Hello?
Hello?
It's Mr. Beebe. I brought someone to see you.
I'll be right down.
Are these people great readers?
I fancy they know how to read. What have they got?
Byron. Exactly.
A Shropshire lad. Never heard of it. The Way of All Flesh. Never heard of it.
Mr. B, look at that. Mistrust all enterprises that require new clothes.
I rather like that. I'm certain it's the old man's doing.
How very odd of him.
Oh, by the by, how's your sister? I haven't seen her at all this last week. She must be very busy, paying visits with Mr. Vyse.
She and Cecil are thicker than ever.
That's good hearing.
I wish I wasn't such a fool, Mr. Beebe. Lucy used to be nearly as stupid as I am. But it'll all be different now, Mother thinks. She'll read all kinds of books.
So will you?
Only medical books. Cecil is teaching Lucy Italian, and he says her playing is wonderful. There's all kinds of things that we have never noticed.
What has gotten into those people upstairs? Emerson, I think we'll call a different time. Oh, may I introduce Mr. Honeychurch, a neighbor. How do you do?
Come and have a bathe?
Oh, all right. How do you do? Come and have a bathe? Why, that's the best conversational opening that I've ever heard. Of course, it won't do for the ladies. And they tell me the sexes can be equal. I tell you they shall, and George thinks so too. Good afternoon, Mr. Beebe. Are we to raise the ladies to our level? Raise them? In only this are we men ahead. We despise the body less than the women do, but not until we are comrades shall we enter the garden together.
I say, what about this bathe?
Let me introduce Mr. Honeychurch, whose sister you will remember. How do you do? Very glad to meet you, and that you are taking George for bathe. Very glad to hear that your sister is to be married, for we know Mr. Vyse too.
Do you really want this bathe? It's only a pond, you know. I dare say you're used to something better.
Yes, I have said yes already.
Would you care to join us? Thank you, but no. It sounds rather far, and I can only potter about these days.
Yes, you should rest.
This way, then.
Did you realize you would find all the pensions Borsellini here at Summer Street?
I did not.
When I was young, I always wanted to write a history of coincidence. Though it isn't really coincidental, you are here when one comes to reflect.
I have reflected. It is fate. We are drawn together by fate, and flung apart by fate. The 12 winds blow us, and we settle nothing.
Attribute nothing to fate. Where did you first meet Miss Honeychurch and myself?
Italy.
And where did you meet Mr. Vyse, who is going to marry Miss Honeychurch?
National Gallery.
Looking at Italian art. You naturally seek out things Italian, and so do we. And you talk of fate.
It is fate that I am here, but you can call it Italy if it makes you less unhappy.
For this reason, and many others, my history of coincidence is still to write. We are also glad you have come, though.
Here we are.
Oh, good.
The sacred lake. I wish it were bigger.
No need to apologize for the pond. It is distinctly successful, as ponds go. Aren't these masses of willow herb splendid? I love willow herb and seed. What is the name of this aromatic plant?
Aren't you bathing?
Well, as I can detect no parishioners about, I may as well bathe too.
Water's wonderful. Water's water. Water's wonderful. I've swallowed a pollywog. Mr. Beebe, water is simply ripping. Water's ready. Rather a lot of beans and mud.
Come on, Mr. Beebe.
That's for you. Ha! 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 You win, you win. Bet you can't catch me though.
Bet I can.
Come on, come on. A try.
Soccer rules.
Go! Pass!
Hey, take care of my watch! Get a hold of yourself! Where are my pants? Boy, for goodness sake, get a hold of yourself! Hi, steady on! I see people coming! Ladies!
Immediately.
Oh, look! It's Mr. Bean's waistcoat! Cecil, that's Mr. Bean's waistcoat! I fancy Mr. Bean's jumped back in the pond!
This way, please, Miss Honeychurch, this way.
Ouch! Well, I can't be trodden on, can I? Look here, Mother. A fellow's got to bathe, and if another fellow...
No doubt you're right, as usual. But you're in no position to argue. Come. Do be sure to try yourself thoroughly, Mr. Bean. All these colds
Emerson! You beast, you've got on my trousers!
Hello. Hello, Miss Honeychurch. Hello.
What is wrong with Cecil?
What?
Is he tired? Since you've come back from London, nothing seems to please him.
By the by, I had a letter from Charlotte while I was away.
Whenever I speak, he winces. No doubt, I am neither artistic nor intellectual, but I cannot help the drawing room furniture. Your father bought it, and we must put up with it. Will Cecil kindly remember?
Well, Cecil doesn't mean to be uncivil. He explained to me once. It is things that upset him. He is easily upset by things.
Is it?
He doesn't mean to be uncivil towards people.
Is it a thing or a person when Freddie sings?
Well, you can't expect a really musical person to enjoy comic songs as we do.
Then why didn't he leave the room? Why sit wriggling and sneering and spoiling everyone's pleasure?
I simply can't stop.
Lucy, you've a bad habit of hurrying away in the middle of one's sentences. Did Charlotte mention her boiler?
Her what?
Her boiler was to be out this month.
Well, I can't remember all of Charlotte's worries. I have enough worries on my own now that you are displeased with Cecil.
Come here, old lady.
I say, those Emersons are topping people.
My dear baby, how tiresome you've been. You've no business bathing in the sacred lake. It's much too public.
I want to ask George Emerson up to Sunday tennis.
Oh, Freddie, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that at all with all this muddle.
What's Emerson like?
I saw him in Florence.
Is he the clever sort, or is he a decent chap?
I don't know. Ask Cecil.
He's the clever sort, like myself.
How well did you know them in Florence?
Very little. And Charlotte knew them even less than I did.
Charlotte, yes. What was in her letter?
This and that. Shall I ever get through this day without a lie?
How did she sound? Cheerful?
Yes. Cheerful, I suppose. No, not cheerful, I suppose.
Then depend upon it. It is the boiler. I know myself how water preys upon one's mind. I would rather anything else, even a misfortune with the meat.
So would I.
And I have been thinking, surely we could have Charlotte here and give her a nice holiday while the plumbers finish.
Oh, Mother, I wouldn't do that. We're as crammed as it is. There's Cecil, and you've invited Minnie Beebe to stop with us because of the diphtheria scare.
Miss Bartlett, Miss Bartlett, Miss Bartlett.
This isn't very kind of you two. You have each other and this beautiful wood, and poor Charlotte has only the water turned off. However clever young people are, and however many books they read, they will never understand what it feels like to grow old.
I must say, Cousin Charlotte was very kind to me that year I called on my bike. She fussed round no end to get an egg pulled from my teeth just right.
Charlotte is kind to everyone, and yet Lucy makes this difficulty when we try to give her some little kindness in return.
Well, I can't help it, Mother. I don't like Charlotte, and neither does Cecil.
Hear, hear.
I feel it's memories. There were memories in Italy, and yesterday, memories came to the sacred lake. And next Sunday, something will change Windy Corner. But how does one fight against memories?
My, this is most excellent tea. I suppose Miss Bartlett must come, since she boils eggs so well.
I didn't say the egg was well boiled. She forgot to take it off, actually.
May me and Lucy get down from our chairs? We don't want no dessert.
Well then. Well, I shall ask Charlotte to come. young people while your mother is away. Oh, and poor Freddie has had to pay for my cab, too. I insist on reimbursing you.
5 pence, and I gave a bob to the driver.
I have only sovereigns. Can anyone give me change?
I've half a quid.
And I have 4 half-crowns.
But who am I to give the sovereign to?
Freddie owes me 15 shillings, so it will work out right if you give the pound to me.
15 shillings. How was that, Mr. Vyse?
I don't see why Mr. Vyse is to have a quid.
5 shillings and 15 shillings makes half a pound, you see.
But I don't see why. Ouch, Freddie, don't poke me. And why shouldn't Miss What's-Her-Name pay that bob for the driver?
I forgot about the driver. Can anyone give me change for half a crown?
Cecil, give me the change. I'll take it into the house.
Lucy, what a nuisance I am. Have you told him about him yet?
No, I haven't. It sometimes seems as if Charlotte plans every word. If all this fuss about cabs and drivers is just a ruse, doesn't it?
When are you going to tell Mr. Vyse?
I promised you I shouldn't tell anyone. Here's your change. You can settle your debt nicely now.
How dreadful if he should hear of it from some other source.
George Emerson is all right. And what other source is there?
Perhaps the old Mr. Emerson knows.
I don't care if he does.
Freddie, don't.
Should we go out then?
Freddie, don't hit me with the spoon.
He'll break all the china if we don't.
What about the other one? What line is he taking up?
No line, no line. He lost his head. I slipped into those violets, and he was silly. I don't think we ought to blame him very much. It makes such a difference when you see a person with beautiful things behind them unexpectedly. It really does. It makes an enormous difference. And he lost his head. He doesn't admire me or any of that nonsense. There, suppose we don't talk about this silly Italian business anymore? We want you to have a restful stay at Windy Corner, without any worrying. That was rather good, wasn't it?
I'm not going.
And I'm certainly not.
The men say they won't go. I don't blame them. Well, I am, at all events, one for church.
Have another scone.
No, thank you. I must get ready.
I'll have one.
Tell her yes. No nonsense. Dearest Lucia, may I trespass upon you for a pin?
Yes, they're on my dresser.
Poke me behind. Gracious, how plain you look. Where's Charlotte?
Upstairs.
Minnie! Where is the child? Minnie!
Here I am. Where is everyone?
Why is Charlotte taking so long to dress? She never brings anything but blouses. Charlotte! Lucy! Minnie! Who's been leaving a book about to spoil?
Oh, that's just Cecil's library book he's been reading.
Well, pick it up.
Under the loggia. I don't read novels anymore. I'm devoting myself to solid literature in hopes to catch up with Cecil.
To church, everyone.
I don't see why I must go. Why can't I stay with Freddie and Mr. Vyse?
Haha, you have to go to church.
Goodbye. Be good.
To church, everyone.
Mr. Emerson, this is my mother, Mrs. Honeychurch. And mother, this is Mr. George Emerson.
Miss Honeychurch, we heard you are to be married. I'm so glad.
I'm glad too. How are you enjoying your new house?
Very much. We find, though, that the Miss Allens were coming, and we have turned them out. I'm very much upset about it.
Our landlord was told that we were artistic. He is disappointed.
I wonder whether I ought to write to the Miss Allens and offer to give it up.
No, you must stop now that you have come.
So George says, yet it does seem so unkind.
There's only a certain amount of kindness in the world.
That's exactly what I say. Why all this twiddling and twaddling over two Miss Allens?
There's only a certain amount of kindness, just as there's a certain amount of light. We cast a shadow on something wherever we stand, and it is no good moving from place to try to save things, because the shadow always follows. Choose a place where you will do no harm, and stand in it for all your work, facing the sunshine.
Mr. Emerson, I see you're clever. I hope you don't go talking like that to poor Freddie.
No, I didn't. He behaved that way to me. It is his philosophy. Only he started life with it, and I have tried the note of interrogation first.
What do you mean? Oh, never mind what you mean. Freddie looks forward to seeing you this afternoon. Do you mind tennis on Sunday?
George, after his education, to distinguish between...
Very well. George doesn't mind tennis on Sunday. No more do I. That's settled. Church? Oh, Charlotte, there you are. You know my cousin, Miss Bartlett?
Yes, indeed.
I'll come up to tennis if I can manage.
George, come back. George has been in quite good spirits today. I'm sure he will end by coming up this afternoon.
Yes, I do hope he will. The old man has not been told. I knew it was all right.
To church, everyone!
He has not told. He has not told. He has not told his father, to whom he tells everything. I knew it was all right. It was not an exploit. He does not love me. And no, how terrible it would be if he did. But he has not told. He will not tell.
Now play Parsifal.
Not very dutiful.
I say, Emerson, how you do creep about.
Oh, I have no idea. Parsifal.
I vote tennis?
Yes, so do I. I vote you have a men's forward.
All right.
Mr. B?
Dear me, tennis.
Not
Well-
for me, thank you. I'm dreadful. I'll spoil the set.
Oh, come along, Cecil. I'm bad. Mr. Beeb's probably terrible. And I dare say Emerson.
I am not bad.
Then certainly, I will not play.
And it will have to be Lucy.
Oh, all right. Mr. Beebe, you be my partner.
I shall read.
Don't worry, we'll get them next time.
I say, Lucy, listen to this. She decided to softly go to him as he was quickly walking to eagerly see the loggia. 3 split infinitives.
Oh, dreadful.
This book is set in Florence. The heroine is running madly across the Piazza della Signoria.
What's fun?
Sunset. The sunset of Italy. Leonora was speeding across the square. Pray the saints.
Leonora?
Good shot, Freddy. Here's one for you.
Yes, the heroine's name is Leonora. Pray the saints she might get there, though she knew not what she wanted, nor what she was looking for, yet she sped on.
Who's the book by?
Joseph Emery Cronk.
Joseph Emery Cronk, indeed. That's Miss Lavish's novel, and she published them under someone else's name.
Our game. Come on, Mr. B. Let's find the balls.
Though she knew not what she wanted, nor what she was looking for, yet she sped on. What twaddle.
Come, Mr. Emerson, sit down after all your energy.
You, when you tired,
Of course I'm not.
do you mind being beaten?
Yes.
I say, listen to this, Lucy. This is really dreadful. But hark, under Arcana Logia.
I don't see you're such a splendid player, though. The light was behind your back and in my eyes.
I never said I was.
Why, you did.
You didn't attend.
Under Arcana Logia, there stands a...
We don't go into accuracy at this house. We all exaggerate and get very angry with people who don't.
I shall inflict Joseph Emery Cronk upon you no longer.
No, Cecil, do find something funny to read to us. How do you like this view of ours, Mr. Emerson?
I never noticed much difference in views. They're all alike, because all that matters in them is distance and air. My father said that there is only one perfect view, the view of the sky, straight over our heads.
I expect your father has been reading Dante.
He told us another time that views are really crowds. Crowds of trees, houses, and hills. And are bound to resemble one another, as human crowds do. And that the power they have over us is sometimes supernatural for the same reason. For crowds are more than the people that make them up.
Oh, what a splendid idea. I shall enjoy hearing from your father again. I'm sorry he's not well.
No, he's not.
There's an absurd account of a view in this book somewhere.
Mr. Emerson, have you any brothers or sisters?
None. Why?
You spoke of us.
My mother, I was meaning. I can just remember us, all three, going into the country for the day and seeing as far as Hindhead. It is the first thing that I remember.
Oh, Cecil, do read the thing about the view.
Not while Mr. Emerson is here to entertain us.
No, read away. I think nothing's funnier than to hear a silly thing read out loud. If Mr. Emerson thinks us frivolous, he can go. Go and find some tennis balls, Mr. Emerson.
Am I really to go?
No, of course not really.
Find me chapter 2 if it isn't bothering you. Hand me the book.
No, it's too silly to read. I've never seen such rubbish.
Leonora stood pensive, whilst the bank on which she stood was carpeted with violets. All unobserved, Antonio stole up behind her. There came from his lips no wordy protestations. He simply enfolded her in his manly arms. This isn't the passage I wanted. There's another much funnier further on.
Should we go on to tea?
Tea, brilliant. Why not?
No! Tell Mother I'm not coming into tea. I have letters to write. He is nothing to me. He has never been anything to me. Charlotte! Charlotte! Do you know anything about Miss Lavish's novel?
Oh, my dear Lucy, Eleanor is a reticent woman at heart, and
There is a scene in it where the hero and heroine are on a hillside, carpeted in violets.
oh, my good Lucia, I am all at sea.
There are violets. I cannot believe it was a coincidence. How could you tell her?
Oh, Lucy, she hasn't put that in her book.
Yes!
Never, never, never more shall Eleanor Lavish be a friend of mine.
I see now why you wanted me to tell Cecil. You had told Miss Lavish, and you knew she was unreliable. You have put me in a most awkward situation. How am I to get out of it?
I can't think.
He must. That man must have a setting down that he won't forget. But who is to give it to him? I can't tell Mother, owing to you. Nor Cecil, owing to you. What's wanted is a man with a whip.
Yes, one wants a man with a whip.
It's no good agreeing with me. What's to be done?
Willingly would I move heaven and earth.
I'd rather want something more definite. Would you speak to him? It is the least you can do, seeing that this all happened because you broke your word.
It is the kind of thing that only a gentleman can settle.
Please, yes or no?
Oh, never again shall Eleanor Lavish be a friend of mine.
Very well. No one will help me. I will speak to him myself. I suppose that's what she intended all along.
But that is brave of you. I admire you.
There he is now. Mr. Emerson, would you come here for a bit? I want you here, of course.
Poor Lucy. I seem to bring nothing but misfortune wherever I go.
Yes. Mr. Emerson, I can't have it. Go out of this house and never come back in it again.
What?
Go, please. No discussion.
But I can't.
Please, I don't want to have to call Mr. Weiss.
You don't mean you're gonna marry that man?
You are merely ridiculous.
You can't live with Vice. He is only for an acquaintance. He should know no one intimately, least of all women. Have you ever talked to him without feeling tired?
I can scarcely discuss.
No, but have you ever? He's the sort who's all right so long as they stick to books and pictures, but kill when they come to people. That is why I'll speak out through all this muddle, even now. It's shocking enough to lose you in any case, but generally, a man must deny himself joy, and I would have held back if he'd been a different person. But in the National Gallery, when you winced because my father mispronounced Botticelli, and then he brings us here, and we find it to play some silly trick on a kind neighbor. That is the man all over, playing tricks on people, in the most sacred form of life he can find. Now, I find him telling you, teaching you, what is charming, or amusing, or ladylike, and you of all people, listen to his voice instead of to your own. Therefore, not therefore I kissed you, because the book made me do that, and I wish to goodness I had more self-control. I'm not ashamed. I do not apologize, but it has frightened you, and you may not have realized that I love you. Therefore, I have settled to fight him.
You say Mr. Weiss wants me to listen to him. Pardon me for suggesting that you have caught the habit.
Yes, I am the same. This desire to govern a woman, it lies very deep, and both men and women must fight it together. But I do love you, Lucy. Really, in a better way than he does. Yes, truly, in a better way.
Mr. Emerson.
Lucy, come to me as you came in the spring, and afterwards we can talk it through. I can't live without you. No good, I thought. She is marrying someone else. But I meet you again, when all the world is glorious water and sun. When you came to me through those woods, I saw that nothing else mattered. I wanted to live and have my chance of joy.
And that I love Cecil and am to be his wife shortly, that does not matter?
It is our last chance, and I shall do all that I can. You would not stop us this second time, if you understood. I have been into the dark, and I am going back into it, unless you try to understand. It's about being young. It's about being sure that Lucy really cares for me, truly. It's that both youth and love matter intellectually.
Oh, Lucia! Oh, what an awful man.
Well, he amuses me. Either I'm mad or he is. And I'm inclined to think it is the latter.
Well, it is not everyone who could boast such a conquest. One oughtn't to laugh, really. It might have been so serious. But you were so sensible and brave, so unlike the girls of my day.
Well, there, we need never speak of it again. Let's go into it then. That love and youth this matter intellectually.
Hello, Lucy. There's light enough for another set, if you and Emerson will hurry.
Mr. Emerson has had to go.
What a nuisance. That spoils the four. I say, Cecil, do play with us just this once.
My dear Freddie, as you well observed this very morning, there are certain chaps who are not good for anything but books. I plead guilty to being such a chap.
How could I have stood him for a moment? He is absolutely intolerable.
But I don't know what to say.
We are too different.
Different?
I have not had a really good education, for one. I shall never be able to speak to your friends or behave as a wife of yours should.
You are tired, Lucy.
Tired, Cecil, that's exactly like you. You always think women don't mean what they say.
You must excuse me if I say stupid things, but my brain has gone to pieces. Just give me a moment.
If you want to know, quite a little thing that decided me to speak to you was when you wouldn't play tennis.
But I never do play tennis.
I knew you wouldn't understand. Of course, it isn't tennis. That was only the last straw.
But I love you, Lucy, and I did think you loved me.
I thought I did. I did not, though. I am sorry.
You don't love me, evidently, and I dare say you are right not to. But it would hurt a little less if I knew why.
Because you're the type of person who can't know one intimately. I don't mean exactly that. I mean, you will question me, and I must say something. You despise my mother, I know you do, because she is conventional and bothers over the meat. But, oh goodness, conventional, Cecil, you're that. You wrap yourself up in art and books and music, and you will try to wrap me up. And I will not be stifled, not for the most glorious of music. For people are more glorious, and you will try to keep them from me. You're all right as long as you keep to things, but when it comes to people...
It is true. It is a revelation. It is I.
Anyhow, those are my reasons for not being your wife.
The sort who can never know anyone intimately. I shall never forget your insight. And dear, I only blame you for this. You might have warned me in the early stages, before you felt you wouldn't marry me, and so have given me a chance to improve. I have never known you till this evening. I have only used you as a peg for my silly notion of what a woman ought to be. But tonight, you are a different person, a new voice.
What do you mean, a new voice?
I mean that a new person seems speaking through you.
If you think I am in love with someone else, you are very much mistaken.
Of course I don't think that.
Yes, you do. You do think it. If a girl breaks off her engagement, everyone says, oh, she hopes to get with someone else. As if a girl can't break off her engagement for the sake of freedom.
I may have said it in the past. I shall never say it again. You have taught me better.
All right, Cecil. No need to apologize.
Solemnly, I thank you for showing me a true woman and myself. Will you shake hands?
Of course I will, Cecil. Good night.
Good night. God bless you, Lucy.
Goodbye, Cecil. Cecil believes in me, but I counted on him being petty. I must be one of those women I've praised, who care for liberty and not for men. I can never marry.
I say, Honeychurch, I just had a letter. It's from the Miss Allens. They're going to Greece, maybe even Constantinople. Ah, the romantic longings of the elderly. They want exotic mosques and Partheons. Why, Miss Honeychurch's romance is nothing compared to it. How I shall tease her.
Listen, Mr. Beebe, don't tease Lucy. She's broken it off with Cecil.
When?
Late last night. I have to go. I'm helping Cecil with his bags.
I suppose they shall not want me here.
No, go on. Goodbye.
Thank goodness. It was the one foolish thing she ever did.
They're angry with Miss Honeychurch because she was late for breakfast. And Mr. Rice is gone, and Freddie won't play with me. In fact, Uncle Arthur, the house is not at all what it was yesterday.
Don't be afraid, Minnie. Go get your hat. Minnie and I are off to the Beehive for tea. Would you care to join us?
I don't think I will, thank you.
I didn't think you'd care too much. Your brother told me. If you'll let me say so, I'm certain you've done the right thing.
So I hoped other people would think, but they don't seem to. Mother minds dreadfully, and Freddie.
I had a letter from the Miss Allens. That's what really brought me over. They're going to Constantinople.
Really? Constantinople is practically Asia, isn't it?
Well, they'll probably only make it to Greece.
Greece, even better. Oh, how I long to go with them. I simply must get away.
You mean since you've broken off your engagement, you want...
To go to Greece, just until Mother calms down about Cecil.
Greece?
Miss Bartlett, what do you think? I can't explain it. It's wrong.
There I cannot agree with you. She just came home.
It seems so unlike Lucy, so selfish.
It is natural, after such painful scenes, that she should desire a change.
But why needs she go so far as Greece?
So expensive. She must go. And dramatic. With your help, we may succeed in convincing her mother. Otherwise...
Otherwise?
Otherwise.
Those that marry do well, but those that refrain do better. Mrs. Honeychurch.
Oh, Mr. Beebe, I don't see why Greece is necessary. But as you do, I suppose it is all right. It must be something that I can't understand. Greece.
Honeychurch. Now, Miss Honeychurch, you must be sure to equip yourself.
Yes, of course, thank you.
Quinine can now be obtained in tabloids, and paper soap is a great help towards freshening up one's face on the train.
Yes, of course, thank you.
But, of course, you know all about these things. And you have Mr. Rise to help you. It is good of him to spare you, but perhaps he will join you later on. Or does his work keep him in London? Well, we shall see him when he sees you off at any rate.
No one will see Lucy off. She doesn't like it.
No, I hate seeing Zoff.
Really? How funny. I would have thought that Mrs. Honeychurch, you aren't leaving.
I'm afraid we must. My cousin, Miss Bartlett, is waiting for us to bring her home from Mr. Beebe's. She is visiting his mother.
It was a pleasure to have met you.
Pleasure.
Yes, I'm sure my daughter is in good hands. Ah, there's the carriage.
We just got through that time.
I shall be told, no doubt, that I am unsympathetic. But I cannot see why you can't tell your friends about Cecil and be done with it. I am thankful he's gone, though I did feel angry at first. Why all this hushing up and tiptoeing?
I suppose I should say it's because if George Emerson hears I've broken off my engagement, he may start bothering me again. But I shouldn't say that.
You're tired of Windy Corner.
I broke off my engagement because I do not love George. I'm going to Greece because I do not love George. I do not love George, and everyone else is being silly.
Well,
Of course I'm not tired of Windy Corner.
well then why not say so at once, instead of considering for half an hour?
Half a minute would be more like it.
Perhaps you would like to stay away from your home altogether.
Well, as we are talking about it, I may as well say that I want to be away more in the future, more than I have been. I get a flat in London, perhaps. I want more independence.
Very well. Take your independence and be gone. Agitate and scream and call it a mission, when all it means is that you can't stand your own home. The home your father built, and the garden he planted, and our dear view.
Perhaps I spoke too hasty.
Goodness, how you do remind me of Charlotte Bartlett.
Charlotte!
The same eternal worrying and the same taking back of words.
Well, if you dislike Charlotte, so it's rather a pity you asked her to stop with us. I implored you not to, but of course I was not listened to.
There you go.
I beg your pardon.
Charlotte again. Her very words.
What is that? At Sissy Villa? Is that a padlock? Is Sissy Villa to let again?
Oh yes, the Emersons have left.
What?
Something about it being too far out of town. But Mr. Emerson can't stay there alone as he is unwell, so they have decided to let it furnished. Oh, here we are. I'll just go in and get Charlotte.
If the Emersons are gone, all this fuss about Greek, what a waste.
A great favor. Your mother says. Well, I just ask. I should like to go to church. Mr. Beebe and his mother are already there. Let's all go.
No church for me, thank you.
Then you must wait in Mr. Beebe's study, so you don't catch a chill.
All right.
Miss Honeychurch.
Mr. Emerson, I thought you had, gone.
George is so sorry. He thought he had the right to try.
He has behaved abominably.
Not abominably. You have all you want, Miss Honeychurch. You are going to marry the man you love. Do not go out of George's life saying he is abominable.
No, of course not. Abominable is much too strong. I think I will join my mother and cousin in church.
Especially as he is going under.
What?
He's giving up on living, as his mother did, when I wouldn't have George baptized, and she agreed. But then he caught that fever, and she thought it a judgment.
Oh no.
And Mr. Eager, he came when I was out, and tried to get her to baptize the boy. I don't blame him. He acted according to his principles, though I wouldn't allow it. But by the time he was well, she was ill. He made her think about sin, and she went under thinking about it.
Mr. Emerson, don't go. Not when you like your house so, and perhaps lose money. All on my account. I'm going to Greece.
There is a look of George about you, Miss Honeychurch. Greece? But you were to be married this year, I thought.
I wasn't. Not till January.
I suppose Mr. Vyse will go with you too. I hope the two of you enjoy Greece together.
Thank you.
Oh, good. I count on you two keeping each other company. It's pouring again. Your mother and cousin are outside waiting for the carriage. Did it go round?
I don't think so, but I will check.
No, of course. I'll see. How are the Miss Allens?
Very well, thank you.
Did you tell Mr. Emerson here about Greece?
Yes.
Don't you think it very plucky of her, Mr. Emerson, to undertake Greece with the two Miss Allens? 3 is such a courageous number to go traveling.
Cecil's not coming with us. I made a slip. I'm leaving Cecil behind.
You are leaving the man you love. Why?
Because he would not let me be myself.
Miss Honeychurch, it seems to me that you are in a muddle. There's nothing worse than a muddle in all the world. It is easy to face death and fate and things that sound so dreadful, but it is on our muddles how we look back with horror. Life, a friend of mine once said, is like a public performance on the violin, in which one must learn the instrument as he goes along. Such a difficult thing. By learning to understand George, you will learn to understand yourself. We must pick up the uses of our functions as we live with them, especially the function of love. That's it. You love George.
How dare you?
But you do. You won't marry the other man for his sake.
How like a man who always thinks that a woman is thinking about a man.
But you are. My dear, you can transmute love, ignore it, muddle it, but you can never pull it out of you. You will wish that you could, but you can't. Dear girl, marry my boy. When I think of how seldom love is answered with love, marry him. This is one of the moments for which the world was made.
But I can't. Cecil and Mr. B, the tickets bought, everything. They trust me.
But why should they when you have deceived them?
Your mother's waiting outside, and Miss Bartlett's...
You're not worthy of their trust.
What's that?
I was saying, why should you trust her when she has deceived you?
I don't follow you, Mr. Emerson.
She has said she does not love George. They have loved one another all along.
I can never marry him.
Why not?
Mr. Beebe, I have misled you. I have misled myself.
Rubbish, Miss Honeychurch.
It is not rubbish. It is the part of people you do not understand.
You're in love with George Emerson? Impossible. I tried to stop her.
I am more grieved than I could possibly express. It is lamentable. Lamentable. Incredible.
What's wrong with the boy?
Nothing, Mr. Emerson, except he no longer interests me.
I shall never give my consent to this.
Marry George, Lucy. He will do admirably.
How could you keep such a secret from me?
You've been lying to us all along?
Oh, Lucy, it is all my fault.
Mr. Emerson?
It is all dark now, I know. But you fight for more than love. There's truth too. Truth counts. You must do what is true. Ah, dear, if I were George, and I gave you one kiss, it would make you brave.
Kiss me, I will try.
It's my old room.
No, it isn't. Because this is the room I had, and I had your father's room. I forget why Charlotte made me for some reason.
Kiss me here. Who's it from?
It's just a line from Freddie.
What does he say?
He's calling our marriage an elopement. Oh, and mother. How will they ever forgive us? Well, if we act the truth, the people who really love us are sure to come back to us in the long run.
I acted the truth. The only thing I did do. And you came back to me, so possibly you know.
When I am very happy, I think about how little it all hangs. Your father in the rectory, and if Charlotte had seen him, she would have stopped me from going in, and I would have gone on to silly Greece and been different forever.
But she did see my father. He said so.
No, she didn't. She said so.
My father saw her, and I prefer his word. He was dozing by the study fire when he opened his eyes, and there was Miss Bartlett. She was turning to go as he woke up.
How like Charlotte to undo all her work with a silly muddle at the last moment.
Or did she mean it?
Mean what?
That from the very moment we met, she knew far down in her mind that we should be like this. Look how she kept me alive in you all summer. The sight of us haunted her. It must have, or she couldn't have described us as she did to her friends. She's not frozen, Lucy. We can never make friends with her or thank her, but I do believe that in her heart she is glad.
No, impossible. No, it is just possible. Courage, truth, and love.